Hello and welcome to the British High Commissioner's residence in Bastos, Yaoundé. I am Patience Elanga, your host, and this is elmag. Elections Cameroon, in the accomplishment of its missions, has over the years established cooperation ties with diplomatic missions and international organizations. Such ties have given birth to what is known as the support group for the electoral process in Cameroon. Ladies and gentlemen, in a bid to appraise the electoral process from the standpoint of international partners in development, elmag today welcomes His Excellency Baba Joshi, Great Britain's outgoing High Commissioner to Cameroon and member of the support group for the electoral process in Cameroon. That said, hello, Your Excellency. Welcome on the program.
Thank you very much, Patience, and welcome to the High Commission.
Your Excellency, to set the stage for our discourse, we start with this report on the state of preparedness of elections Cameroon in view of the twin legislative and municipal elections billed for September 20, 2013. Watch this.
A key actor in the preparation of election materials for the upcoming September 30 twin elections is the Director General of Elections Cameroon. From the management of national voters' registers to the procurement and distribution of election materials, documents, and administering training for electoral personnel, the Director General of Elections oversees it all. And so, after visiting the Yaoundé Air Force Base last month, where a good majority of election stationery has been kept, Mohamed Sani Tanimu did affirm that all supplementary materials needed for the September 30 council and municipal elections had arrived in the country. A large chunk of booths, bales of fabric, ballot boxes, cartons of indelible ink, date stamps, lamps, calculators, badge carriers, pens, counting sheets and envelopes, just to name these, have ever since been dispatched to the regions of the country. In the meantime, machines have not stopped working at the National Printing Press, where the Elections Management Body, ELECAM, ordered for more elections materials. According to the Deputy General Manager of the Publishing Corporation, Salomon Genang, 14 million small envelopes, reporting and counting sheets, and more printed at the National Printing Press have already been delivered to ELECAM. Mr. Ngenang also further explained that about 20 million ballot papers and campaign ballot papers needed for the September 30 municipal elections were still being printed and would be delivered to ELECAM. Already a similar quantity of ballot papers produced by the Cameroon News and Publishing Corporation, SOPECAM, for the legislative elections has been handed over to ELECAM, while political parties taking part in the September 30 parliamentary elections have started collecting their campaign papers from the News Corporation. ELECAM, for their part, busy with putting together election materials, will also in the days ahead organize training for presidents of polling stations. Consultation meetings with members of the civil society, international organizations, and members of the diplomatic corps are also taking place at ELECAM, as the bodies learn from each other and share experiences in the organization and management of elections. And so, ELECAM, whose board members recently met to scrutinize, among other issues, nomination papers reinstated by the administrative bench of the Supreme Court for the September 30 council elections, remains on alert, with field tours planned for members of the Electoral Board sometime during the month.
Your Excellency Baba Joshi, how long have you been in Cameroon?
Exactly 4 years. I arrived here 4 years today.
4 years? That's enough time for you to have observed the changes in the electoral process and ELECAM's organization and management of elections, right? So, what are your impressions?
We've seen a clear evolution in ELECAM's capacity and capabilities of being able to manage elections. So, after a baptism of fire in 2011, in the presidential elections, we've seen a gradual increase in its stature and its confidence and its abilities.
At this point in time, can we share your thoughts on the use of biometry in the electoral process?
Yeah, I've welcomed biometric registration widely. It's evidence that we're seeing an evolution in the democratic process in Cameroon. We think it's a really positive step. We welcome it very strongly. I mean, one of the biggest criticisms of the presidential elections in 2011 was the quality of the voters' list and whether or not they'd been sufficiently cleansed. And this takes away that issue, that 5.5 million genuine voters, of Cameroonian voters, is something which should give a lot of confidence to the people.
At this point in time, Your Excellency, can you share your thoughts on ELECAM's maiden organization of elections in the diaspora in 2011, especially as our staff were in London?
Yeah, we were very impressed. I mean, it was something that the government didn't have to do. It was that ELECAM didn't have to do. It was a step we wondered at the time whether it would be too far for such a young institution to take on, but actually it went very, very well. It was very impressive. We engaged with the Commonwealth Secretariat. So, for example, in the presidential elections, we coordinated closely with the Commonwealth Secretariat on the monitoring of elections. So that's a big part of our work.
Your Excellency, as High Commissioner of Great Britain and of Northern Ireland to Cameroon, and also representative of the head of the Commonwealth, which happens to be a founding godparent of ELECAM, how have you impacted ELECAM and the process?
We work very closely with ELECAM within the Commonwealth. We and the UK and its Commonwealth partners here in Cameroon have engaged directly with ELECAM. We've also worked very closely with the Commonwealth Secretariat, including around elections, the presidential elections, when we coordinated our work.
Now, if you were given the opportunity to change something in the electoral process and its management, what would that be and why?
Well, one of the things I've been saying for some time, certainly after the presidential elections and in the last 12 months, is that ELECAM has proved itself in many ways for me. It's demonstrated that it's capable of managing those elections. So we would like to see ELECAM take on more responsibility, take on responsibility for accreditation of the press and accreditation of observers, to take on responsibility for the publication of results, and maybe even to take on things like arranging the electoral timetable and the calendar. Access to the media is another one. So if anything, we would like to see more responsibility given to ELECAM and taken away from the ministry.
Well, you see, I know you have paid particular attention to the inclusion of civil society organizations, women and minority groups, like persons with disabilities and indigenous populations, which happen to be some of ELECAM's targets on the eve of the twin elections. Would you say these stakeholders are sufficiently involved in the electoral process?
It's difficult to know when you've done enough for these minority groups, because they're minority groups, they're more isolated, they're more difficult to influence. I was very impressed, for example, that ELECAM has targeted those groups by the work that was done around the presidential elections, for example, to target deaf people. I thought that was fantastic to see, and the blind with Braille, for example. So I think those are laudable initiatives. Also women, it's a big part of the work that we do. We have a lot of, at least probably half of our development funding is used for women. We've been spending money on programs to encourage women to vote, women to participate as candidates in the electoral process, to try and make them, they're key targets for us too. So we're happy to work in partnership with ELECAM on that.
Well, you see, to stay in the same vein, let me take you to the Northwest region, where persons with disabilities, the Hausa and Bororo communities, have been trooping to withdraw their voters' cards from distribution centers in Sabga, amongst other centers. Over to you, Caldi.
The voter card distribution exercise has gathered steam in the Northwest region with a distribution rate that stands at more than 80%. With the inclusive approach voter card distribution spirit adopted out here, we were at Sabga of the Tuba ELECAM Council branch area, a settlement of the Hausa and Bororo communities, to size up the distribution exercise.
I'm very happy to have my voter's card. I want to thank the ELECAM board for coming right to the village here, doing the door-to-door services to give back people's voter's card. So I'm very happy to have this my card and to wait for the elections to come and vote. So I want to inform everyone that each and every person who has not yet taken the voter's card to try by all possibilities to have his or her voter's card before the elections and try to vote. Since every Cameroonian, since every nationalist of a country have the right to vote.
We asked the Elekam Council branch head for Tuba, Maureen Kimbi-Lepti, to assess the voter card distribution exercise in her area of command.
As of today, we are above 80% distribution of voters' cards in the Tuba subdivision. And of course, this is due to our door-to-door sensitization and moving from door to door and not leaving out minority communities like the Muslim community in Sabga, the Bafukum, and the Finger people.
How the disabled are receiving their voters' cards was our interest in the Bamenda 2 council area. Here, some disabled and disadvantaged persons from Chomba, Songwa, and Mankon gathered at the headquarters of the Community Resource Center for the disabled and disadvantaged to collect their cards from the Elekam mobile team that was stationed there.
I'm very happy and I appreciate the effort because in the past we were not considered. But this time around, Elekam is doing its best to see to it that people with disability are involved. But I pray and believe that they will not only distribute the voters' card, they will see to it that they provide every need for people with disability to participate in election independently with no barriers.
The council branch head for Bamenda 2, the heartbeat of the Northwest region, with the highest number of registered voters, appreciates the ongoing operation.
Actually, Bamenda 2 is very strategic with respect to the political atmosphere of this country. We registered a total of 44,158 persons. That's the highest, actually, in the whole region with respect to the council areas. And we have that bulk of cash to distribute. We started distribution on the 22nd of May 2013, and so far we're around 80%. I think we've done a lot.
As you must have noticed, the Elekam staff of the Northwest region have adopted a door-to-door and face-to-face approach in the distribution of the voters' cards ahead of the September 30 twin municipal and legislative elections.
Welcome back from that report. I've been curious and always wanted to ask you this question. If you were a Cameroonian of voting age, would you have voted and why?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm a big believer in voting. I think that it's harder to criticize a system without actually trying to change that system by being a part of it. So I think you have less authority, moral authority, to criticize a system if you didn't express your vote in favor of that system or not.
Tell me, are you going to witness election day or voting day in Cameroon?
I wish that I was. I'd hoped that I would be here to see the full set of elections in Cameroon, presidential, senatorial, and then the municipal and legislative. Unfortunately, I leave the country tomorrow, so my successor will have the privilege of seeing these elections, and I shan't.
Guess what? I'm giving you this opportunity to talk to election stakeholders, and you'd better seize this opportunity. The floor is yours.
Great. Well, what I say is vote. Get out there, express your vote, be a part of engaging in the development, democratic development, economic development, social development of your country. I mean, you have the opportunity. This is your nation. You have the right to be a part of building that nation, and the best way to do that is through the ballot box. So we encourage you all to get out there and express your votes on election day. It's your basic responsibility as a citizen.
Your Excellency Baba Joshi, it's been a pleasure having you. And believe me when I say Cameroonians are going to miss you.
Thank you, Patience. I don't know if that's true, but I can say with honesty that we are going to miss Cameroonians.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't collected your voter's card yet and you are wondering where and when to go find yours, all you have to do at this point in time is to visit our website, www.elekam.cm. And once you are at the homepage, follow the link, check your registration online, and the rest is yours. Goodbye and see you next time.